Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of Free Akashic Records Reading Satisfaction Guaranteed or Your Money Back. I'm Ernesto. I'm your host, and I'll be with you here for the next hour. Beretta, can you hear me right now? Are you there on the line with me? Oh, I'm so sorry. Beretta, you were muted. Let me go ahead and unmute your line. Beretta, can you hear me again? Are you there?
That wasn't even funny because I was having a worry about not being able to be heard. So I have to say, yeah, I'm okay. I'm heard here.
It's Mercury retrograde, it's just one of those kinds of things. So, hey, we were having some terrific conversations over the past few days. I've been taking a look at our numbers here on the show, and one of the things I've been noticing is that a lot of people really seem to pick us up more as a podcast than a call-in show, and that's always great too, because there's so much value when you listen to these types of shows after the fact, just because we're all in that self-improvement mode. But so that just tells me as one of the hosts that people are sort of too worried about calling in to hang out all of their personal laundry on the air kind of thing. We will be looking into some write-in questions here pretty soon, but Beretta, let's talk for a moment about the conversation we had a few days ago, because I think a lot of our listeners just aren't aware of what we can do or accomplish when we hire us, because we do so many different things. So like, I'm an alchemist, and I'm the person you go to when you say, help me to create the perfect husband, and then we can come up with a game plan about how to do that. And Beretta, we were talking, you and me, about some belief change sessions, which was kind of like a variation of hypnosis, but it's more cemented or rooted in reality, like stuff that's already transpired, but you just need that extra push. That's something else that some of you may need some help with, for that thing that you've been working on, that a lot of us have sort of been in that self-improvement mode lately and working towards that final goal. Getting that push is something that we can do, and Beretta can apparently accomplish this. So this was something that I thought was exciting. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so when you're specifically talking about the push, there's usually some sort of anxiety or mental issue hanging in there for them, so staunch in its foundation that they can't pass anywhere. It's like that one thing that's there right in front of them is a big marker solely to them, and unless they have the right key, they can't get past it. So the alchemy, in from that perspective, is they understand what to do to help themselves with what's right in front of them, and that nothing is going to hurt them, because unless they're on a bad path, if they're in a bad manner, they can't be touched with what they're doing, and the alchemy is good. Um, so this is what I've learned a lot about it personally in my life, is that most definitely the alchemy can heal self, or anything else for that matter, but self is what we're talking about here. And the soul's pattern is meant to be able to heal itself, no matter what position and the failing or the illness or the disease breakup, whatever is, you can match that vibration and heal that successfully. Now, there's a lot of these things people aren't going to want to know. One of the things that you and I were talking about, other than that, was, you wonder about addiction and how bad it really messes you up in one lifetime. Well, it can, but it can't do anything more than, your just compulsion for a food, or a good book and a mystery, or something like that. Your brain's gonna heal whatever it knows how to heal, and there's that. So with helping yourself heal with your alchemy and understanding how far this can take you, then you have to know that if what we live in is an energetic vibration that's infinite, and we also know that this is a circular foundation, if you will, that eventually that atomic set of numbers is going to come back to you. Man, that's where you're at. You got a great deal in the understanding, and just try it along, right? By somebody left and right that wouldn't know who you are, but they feel compelled to talk to you because you just got that kind of magnet. Or someone that doesn't know who you are, and you're just trotting along totally innocent, and the person in front of you says, "Hey, Ernie, how you doing?" And the guy right next to you pops up, breaks his neck, looking up to see who he's talking about, because you seem so unassuming. How could you be anything or anyone important? And I think I'm glad that you are that way. And on one half, you're very right to the point. And you don't have time. You don't have time. Here, let's do it. This is the way it's going to be done, and I want you to make sure that this happens first, and we're going to do da 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 da. Okay. And you didn't learn that tact of a conversation prior to that, but you didn't really need to, because where you live, you're okay. They understand Ian. They understand Ernest. They understand the way you talk. They don't have to categorize it in any manner other than you. Outside of you, yeah, you struggle a little bit. And the ones that are really important to you, you're just very, very humble, very quiet, very willing to learn in a uncorrupt way. You want to make your own decisions about something, but you want fed the truth. And so that for you, that is the step for your alchemy, in that everything you do is underlined with wanting to know the truth. And then you'll think about accepting it or dealing with it later, but you want to know. So there's a lot to that to be said, that when we don't know where we are, who we are, like the stars right now are playing jump rope in the sky right now, we have to learn to find that middle zone where it's not being whipped on either side by a belt and you're walking straight through it unscathed. And that is definitely attachable to disassociating with Mercury retrograde, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a prerequisite. Now, hell, I forgot what your question was, but at some point I hope I answered it in there. And
Yes,
I feel like,
just talking about like the belief change and sort of how that process works and how you make that happen.
Well, and so that goes with, like I said before, the raising your vibration. Everything happens in vibration. You want to change your belief about something, find out what it resonates at, and go higher. It doesn't even, like say the resonation of drinking, the one step higher might be to lick stamps. So, you're going from one detrimental thing to probably another if you lick enough stamps. But the reality of it is your belief system said you can do so. If your belief system doesn't give it a break at all, looks at something and says, yeah, no, I have none of that. That doesn't work for me. Nope. Then you're shutting a possibility down, which says this, and this goes to the brain that is, a lizard brain back there, that it is allotted only so much room, and it remembers how it learned to live and love and whatnot in lizard land. But the fact is that's not exactly what it wants to do now. So it won't join that path, and your thinking pattern, your belief system, then will be what you know right there, how it was paved, without really thinking about that being the question, looking up why we change our belief pattern. It's not any more difficult than making your mind up about something and sticking to that. And I'm sorry that's so simple, but that's the case. If you, and I don't know if you've ever done this, Ernesto, but if you've ever gotten to an aha moment where something like hit you in the back of the head with a 2x4 and scattered around your brain just a little bit, and you stood there then with your mouth dropped and you realize, oh my God, I don't have to be mad about that anymore. Why, well, I understand why I was mad up to this point, but I don't understand why at this point. I just gotta let it go. And it's gone. There's no more debate. There's no back and forth. There's no asking friends, what do they think? It was just gone. It is that easy. The other flip side to that is you're so in detail, you specifically, and probably others like you, I would say, you're so detailed in the specifics. Again, we're going to remember you're all about the truth, right? On your case, it's about the brain and finding out what's right. So you're going to keep looking for the belief system that you want to have that will validate that. You're looking for something that will corroborate to, yes, the sky is yellow. I'm going to find as much as I can about that as possible. and then I'm going to make it real. Well, now that's pretty hard fetch, but there are other things that aren't. And your resonance of energy will probably have to be adjusted, but that's a choice. And so you can address that. I can tweak it just a little bit to raise my energy, but I don't want to quit having fun. So I don't want to raise it that much. So I'll compromise something else out. It's compromising. It's a belief system, an understanding, and a knowing. When you want to have a stance on some subject and you want to believe so hard that you could get knocked over if somebody hits you because you wouldn't get a budge no matter what if you'd have planted in the ground. If you believe that hard in something, that's where your brain learns to understand and accept it as fact. Once it's a fact state, that's where that little lizard brain back there comes to life and says, oh, we're keeping this one? All right. I woke up. I put it where it belongs now. Carry on. And you're on to do your own next bunch of stuff. Does that make any sense to you?
It does, yes. And the human mind is programmed to take the path of least resistance. So one of the things that's really funny about people who get hypnotized or people who go through belief change sessions, they sort of have the shocking experience where like, really? It's that easy? That's it? And they almost feel ripped off, like they want a refund, like I thought it was going to be so much bigger and better than this. And it's really not. It truly isn't. It's so simple. And it's just a matter of just letting go. Like this is something that a lot of us really struggle with our interpersonal relationships, especially those of us who get stuck in these, what I call quote unquote, one-side relationships where one person is holding up the weight of an entire conversation or interaction or really anything. And it becomes so exhausting to where like we just beat ourselves up and we wonder, is this person even into me kind of thing? Just because it's like we don't get enough of a response where we really feel like it's validated or even wanted. Right. This is somewhat common for a lot of us. So one of the things that I have had to do over the years, especially as somebody who has always been single and never been in love, the moment anybody shows me any inkling or little ounce of attention, immediately, you are my best friend, you are my everything, like I'm going to go run off and join the circus with you kind of thing. But that is so far from reality because the reality happens right now. This is the moment that I need to focus on, not all of that crazy kittens and rainbow stuff that's in an uncertain future. So what ends up happening in every single one of these situations where I get in these one-side conversations where I'm really interested in holding up the weight, but I'm just not getting the feedback or response that I need, there comes a point where things get a little bit freaky and I just say, I'm really sorry, but out of respect to myself, I'm going to have to let this go. I'm going to have to release this. Maybe if this is meant to be in the future, then it will come back around. But this is just not it. This consumes too much of my own mental energy, and we just need to let it go. That kind of leads into the conversation about like soul agreements, soul contracts. That it really is a two-sided effort. That's sort of the free will aspect that we have, that like this, you may not be right for me in this moment because I don't like where you are, so I'm going to say no, go away, and you may never come back, but if you do, it's going to be when you're in a much better place, when we're ready to have this conversation, just not right now.
Even if overall it may be totally completely done and a little part of it resonates down the road with something being associated to both of you, and now you're back together only in that one moment, brief second for whatever this is, and not that you wanted to allocate that time to each other, but the fact is you had to, so you did. And none of that is to say kindle up old lang syne stuff. It just says it's probably going to happen, and it's really nothing more than for whatever the need to see each other was about, regardless of how much you interacted.
And remember that can also be intangible too, because I was doing this really beautiful relationship analysis. Everything is glowing. It's perfect. It's kind of like these two people absolutely need to be together. It's like fireworks in the sky kind of stuff. Well, did you ever stop to check to look to see if these two people actually have connections for meeting each other physically? No, they don't. Everything may look perfect, and that may be all good, and that's why talking to this person via instant message may seem so, such like a terrific experience, but if there is no actual physical meeting, then what the heck is that even good for? So then you kind of have to do
Right.
a little bit more research into it, and I realized, oh, so the reason that I met this person had nothing at all to do with a physical meeting or a settling down of husband's energy kind of stuff. It's very simply so that I can teach people about astrology for relationship work. And again, coming back to, oh, so this all looks so great, but did you think to check to see if you're actually going to meet each other? That was the lesson there. And you can see that in the chart. So I understand after the fact, even though this may have blown up in my face and didn't go down the way that my ego had really wanted it to, that's fine, because I still focused on myself and what makes me happy. So I still got what I needed to out of it. And I was able to release that
That's
whole
right.
connection in the process. So it was very fulfilling.
Yep. That's right. And honestly, that when I say to people, you, you, you don't need to see that this is vindicated. When I'm talking to somebody that's just so angry about something happening, they did not agree about it whatsoever at all. They wanted to see justice done. When am I going to see this be done? And then after a while talking with him, well, because I would always be there right there, as well, what, don't be doing that stuff. Don't be wishing somebody ill will. I don't care how bad they were to you. Do not know what that does to you when it comes back. Finally, they get to the point of understanding, either they maybe weren't looking at their ex just right yet because they're just not really done, or B, they're gonna hear what I have to say and they don't care one way or the other. They'd pay everything all right now and get her out of my life. And see, you're really in a bigger place of understanding that if they need that money, if he needs that money more than you do, specifically if there are children involved as well, then you have a right to fight for that. You absolutely have a right to fight for that. So it's really, again, it is a package deal. When you're looking at a contract situation, especially after package deal, boy, a lot of times that comes with kids or comes with kids involved in it. And the contracts may have ran out a long time ago, but they didn't. So they just kept right on huffing and puffing and made themselves into a situation where now they really don't care so much each other anymore.
Well, the notion of soul contracts in astrology is sort of an interesting one, because what traditional astrologers, like, we've always used the node, right? Like, that's that dragon head, if you've seen that at all. It faces up and it's got like a little circle on each side of that upside down horseshoe. That's kind of what it looks like, and that's supposed to be representative of our connections. So those are our soul agreements. Anything that involves people coming together, and people can be defined as even companies. So like the companies that you would work for in your lifetime, you will also have soul agreements with them in your chart. So that's always something that you need to look for when you're starting a job. So these types of things have been studied for thousands of years, and traditional astrologers, they would try to say, well, there's the north node and there's the south node. So the south node would be exactly 180 degrees opposite the north node, wherever that's located in the chart. And both the north node and the south node have different meanings. Well, Alfred Witte decided that doesn't make any sense. Why would you take one piece of information, divide it into two, and then give them all different meanings? That seems weird. So by using the 90-degree dial, and 180 degrees is really just an equal representation of the same aspect pattern in the fourth harmonic. We only use the north node. That's why we don't use north versus south. We just use the node. So all of our soul connections will be housed in that particular area of our chart. If you connect it with like the meridian, which is the soul, that's going to be your soul connections. If you connect it with the sun, that's going to be your bodily connections. So like sun node will very often share things with like Venus or Mars, or possibly even the moon if there's like some intimate or possible sexual relationships between people. All of the partners that we have in life, we're going to show those reciprocal planets with each other. This is the sacred geometry that nobody's talking about, is the signatures in our chart that are prevalent in the charts of the people that we attract. One of the things I've really been working on recently is making my external world to be the internal world that I wish to become. Because my life has always been
Mm-hmm.
about processing customer complaints and being a venting sounding board so that people can just be negative. And I'm really just kind of sick of it because I want so much more. I see people who are happy with their lives and they don't have all of this, venting and complaining and everything else. So I've decided I'm cutting out those elements of my life and I'm introducing more elements that are positive. Now, because my chart naturally has an issue with things that are negative and that's, things that are broken and problematic, I am a magnet for all of those types of issues. That means that the positivity that I attract in my life, it needs to be centered around broken self improvement. Any of the areas that I work on in my life personally, the other activities need to follow suit. So if I'm going to go off and try to do something totally unrelated to my life that I think, oh well, that sounds like a good idea. I want to do that. That sounds, like some good positive vibes. Well, I'm going to have an uphill battle because that's not the way that my chart's built. Like I am truly a professional hater in this chart. I am, and so one of the things that I have to work on is shaking off a lot of that disgust and unwant and all of the things that revolt me about myself. And I've worked very hard on them, and it's an ongoing process. Take me my whole life to live this chart out, to be honest. And so all of the things, all of the new structures that I am introducing are a reflection of who I want to become. So that way the process of changing myself isn't nearly as difficult and I don't have to fight it as much because I have the positive reinforcement of, oh, this is who you want to be. So now we can make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and the reality of it is when you want something and spit in one hand, want in one hand and spit in the other, which one's going to fill up first? So it isn't just a matter of wishing it. You've got to get up and apply energy toward it. When Spirit Universal, has got you by the back or by the hand or by the snarlies, whatever it takes to get you motivated, just know you're not alone. You're not alone. Even though when you get up and you look around you, you don't see anybody, but the reality of it is something's compelling you forward that you're not doing on your own. So that's a real good plead for, is there life after death or anything else for that matter, and better probably for another session. But the reality of it is we only know what we know, and then we think what is suspicious. And then there are times where we get to that place to where our clairsentient ability is so awake and aware, it just comprehends the information received. Therefore, then it also knows, but it's not knowledge from I did this in class or I read a book or seen a movie. I did this by myself. I did this on my own. So those are they're clairvoyant things that we would wish, wow, I'd like to have those experiences. And the reality of it is we do every day. When we wish someone's not where we're working anymore, well, and one day they don't show up and something bad happens. Or they still hang in there and they feel like, or they look to you like they feel like every time you're around, they're around you. They've been beat up by a big love. And you are you're the source of that feeling, because then, when you pass her or him, it immediately goes away. So it maybe have more to do with, what you both need to learn from this experience. And that's where we come back to soul contracts, because we both need, if we never do one thing in our entire relationship with each other, regardless of what kind of relationship that is, intimacy or whatever, friendship, whatnot, if we only never did but one thing other than knew each other in our entire relationship, that was what you were born for.
Yeah.
So, and that's probably a 30 or 50 miles year contract, which that happened. It happened. But more often than not, 90% of the time, I hate to tell you this, 90% of the time, so we have burnt our, I'm a soulmate, the hope from that, and skip it right down after about the first 4 or 5 years to, we were meant to be together. And we don't talk about that whole soulmate anything anymore. And about the 9, 10 mark, yeah, we know that guy. He's been around. We must have reasons for each other because we've been here. We've been through a lot already. You're a little smoother. 15, you're back to wondering whether you should be alive. So your being with them is irrelevant. It's a matter of whether or not you really want to continue. And then you get to that point later to where you're like, oh, well, hell, I've got this long. I'm not nearly going to worry about much anything else right now, let alone them. And if they don't want to be with me, so be it. And it's that time, from that time, that you know that it's no longer a belief system. It's a fact. And it's not an educated fact. It's an intuitive fact. So that helps you also understand just taking things in stride, like hearing some voice tell you in your head as you're taking a walk, oh, guess what? That's allergic to you, or you're allergic to it, or don't touch that, it could be poisonous. And come to find out years later, that's exactly right. So who was it in your head talking to you, telling you to leave that bush alone? No, you're not psychotic, which is always the first thing that I try to tell someone when I know they've heard voices, or they've heard or been aware of things that they've also been scolded and crucified for. So they just keep their mouth shut. They don't admit it. They don't come out. Finally, after a couple of meetings, maybe more, maybe that's the first one. And if I can get to their heart, then I can jerk on those chains and give them a little ripple and tell them, no, you don't need this for that anymore. You can throw those chains away. The heart can be protected now. And that's a lot of what I try to do.
It's funny that you mention, people who hear voices, because this is an experience, it took me too long in my adult life. I was hideously misdiagnosed as a psych patient. Turns out there was never anything wrong with me. Maybe there's a little bit of ADHD, hyperactivity kind of stuff, but that's just my own thing. That's not really anything that needs to be treated. So what's funny is the fact that, like, you tell a clinician, I hear and see things other people don't. Immediately, let's medicate the heck out of you because we need to make that go away. That's abnormal. But then I found out many years later, there are magic words. All you have to do is tell people that I have religious experience, and suddenly, like, all of those other terrible conversations go away. They totally leave you alone, and they're like, okay, then let's move on. What else would you like to discuss today?
Yeah, I had this. Well, so I had exactly that experience working with people that needed to know what your religious belief system is. What do you what do you want to say to whatever anybody that shows up? All this stuff, like, and when they put those choices on there, it's very slim that they'll have even one, but. So they didn't, but they did have place for other. And when I placed other on it, she looked at me. She said, "Now, you didn't mark anything for these questions. Do you hear things?" And I didn't say anything. I looked at her. She said, "And do you see things?" And I just looked at her and didn't say anything. And because I was wanting her full attention when I said to her, "Well, how do you feel about mediums?" And she stumbled just a little bit in her words. And she said, I'm okay. It just depends upon how it's delivered. I said, oh, great. Well, I won't deliver you something from Spirit. You don't deliver me something I don't want to hear. And she giggled. But the thing is there's not, if you're going to make it taboo, that's what's going to be. And that so many years still, so many years, even out of the hospital, there's no choice for spiritualism in there. So you have to pick and choose what you want to make it be.
And it's such a fine line.
Or something that you're constantly funning. Yeah, right.
It's funny how the magic words in that situation are religious experience, and by saying that, like, they just leave you alone. It's great. I wish I would have known that a long time ago. But remember that I grew up, where in a time and place where all of that was that was just stuff you didn't talk about, because, like, Sylvia Brown didn't even exist on the TV at that point in my life. So that was insane. That was crazy people talk.
Yeah, and see, my thing was I was into Edgar Casey, which was born or had died like several years, maybe a decade short of when I was born. And so I didn't have any experience with anybody like that growing up, ever. because that was the first guy that I was exposed to, and I really want to say like I was 12 maybe ish, 13. But yeah, if you don't have reference material to go by, you don't know what's happening to you. So it's real easy to think that you may be crazy or it's just not right because that's what that's what your parents told you, that's what your peers told you, that's what people that didn't know really what it was that you were even talking about told you. Um, so right now it's a matter of learning the discovery of self, learning to understand who you are and what you want to be, and that would be the first steps. After you learn the simple protocol and healing and all that, and protection and muscle testing and then that kind of things, those are things that are tangible, like, so if you never walked away from anything else in that class, and mine is structured like that in the way that I little baby steps. I get you up to that point to where then I shove you up against the wall and I make you work. But most of the time, I'm really diligent about the folks that are brand new in a class that's sitting with me because I want to get a good, firm, positive foundation about this subject. So if they don't make it, then they're not pissed off at that stupid wacky place with that dumb old lady that crazy is blah, blah, blah. They're getting, well, no, I learned how to meditate, or I learned how to get my breath back, or I learned how to be able to sleep at night. And that's worth it for me. I don't have to see them all the way down the line, the entire picture. And it's just who I am, but that's where I am, where the contracts can be. I'm going to keep talking until I know the contract's filled or the time just shuts off. So because I am understanding and very well aware most of the time, we bump into contacts that are meant to be our contracts, and we don't even know that that's involved. And I'm very conscientious of that being so played out over and over and over in one's lifetime. Is they're bumping into a contract individual every day, and they don't know it.
Yeah, we are all so interconnected. We have no possible idea how all of that's going to play out.
No.
And
Yep.
a lot of it is really super mundane. I mean, think about like the music that you enjoy. Those very souls of the people of whose music you really enjoy today, they were probably minstrels or bards or something very similar to that, whatever the old world equivalent of those professions were back then. And wherever your soul was in the universe out at those points in time, you were still interacting with the same people. You were still enjoying the same music, same artists, same everything. It's just that it's reinvented. It has a new form because we're in this timeline. So that's a very simple way how we are all so interconnected with each other, or very simply like the people who serve us, like at a restaurant or at a grocery store kind of thing. These are the same souls that have served us in similar environment lifetime after lifetime. Same is true for the people that we have sex with. The same is true that the people we marry and have relationships with. Every single relationship or soul contract that we have, they just repeat themselves over and over, but it's a new form. It's something is different because the soul is looking
Mm-hmm.
to learn something new in that experience.
Right. And so because that fractal has many, many values to its form, shine, and maybe even imperfection, all of that is fractaled out. And, you're going to have multiple opportunities with different values invested, different place markers to what used to be. And so you'll be able to identify just enough, just a little bit, but really it's not you anymore. And that's what gives you the, what, no, it isn't you anymore. You're not in the same place anymore. You either get with the program or shut the hell up and live in the backwoods somewhere so you don't really need to worry about or see the change. Because you really don't have very many choices where that's comes from when you're in a sound mental health.
We are going to get off to our phone lines here and take some calls. If you are watching us on Facebook Live or YouTube or wherever, be sure to give us a call directly on the show. Since we're not paying attention to those other chat outlets, that phone number is going to be area code 319-527-6071. We'll be here until about 7 p.m. Arizona time. So just give us a call and we can get you in. For right now, we are going to get off to Karen here at area code 917. And I do want to let you know, Karen, right before I unmute your line, that if you are watching our YouTube stream, be sure to mute your YouTube audio so that way you can just speak to us through the phone and we can avoid that feedback loop. Perfect. Here we are. Karen, can you hear me? Are you on the line with us right now?
Yes. Wow. How did you know who I was?
You've called us before, so I keep a guest book of everybody's just because it's a customer service kind of thing, and it also makes it easy for my files so I know how to find everybody since there are so many different charts in this computer.
Wow. Well, that's very impressive.
You know,
well, thank you.
You know, my book editor, he really takes the cake when it comes to being prepared with any possible scenario that could go wrong. I had a file lost sometime last year, and he surprised me and said, "Oh, by the way, I saved offline copies of everything that you sent me. Here they are." And it was just like, "Thank you so much. There is a God."
Yeah.
So I got you here, Karen. It looks like you were born on March 29th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. And do you have a question for us tonight, or
Okay.
would you just like a general reading?
Well, maybe both. But anyway, I was wondering if you sensed any weird energies or, I almost feel like my life in my apartment's been cursed. There's always been a heavy energy. But more specifically now, I seem to be misplacing things, and, there are a couple of bills and an important letter that I had together, and I don't know where they are. They're not in the usual place where I put them, I thought, and I've turned the desk upside down and created more of a mess. And so I wonder if there's anything weird going on there, or if I'm just getting a little crazy and don't remember where I put stuff. Which is not like me with important papers. Other things, maybe.
Veretta, what you got for Karen here?
Did you say, Karen, that you lived in an apartment?
Yes.
Okay. May I please have the numbers to the apartment itself, and just the numbers now, not the street, okay? The number
of the building?
The number of
Just
the building? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, the building is 185.
And what's your apartment number?
11R.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your street address?
I'm sorry?
Your street address?
That's set to 185?
No numbers. No numbers. It's just West End, two separate words, Avenue.
Okay. And,
I can't believe I'm giving my address on air.
That's all right. I got the hit before you gave me that one. That one validated. So you are right now in a place that used to have a lot of hominids, and have frequently been you've been the superstar on a hominid show that's still running through there because they don't know any difference not to. So what's happening is you've got a pathway through your house, through your apartment. And that pathway, even though you would think, well, that's encumbering, I can't imagine that happening right here. I might have had a big rock or a boulder or something. Well, so you need to look at the geographics around your area because you really are sitting, or used to be, in a very large rock quarry. Okay, so why am I telling you all that? I'm telling you all that because you are in a position to understand right now how to, A, protect yourself, tell them to get off your property, don't come back anymore, and B, how to learn to live with what's there and communicate with it effectively. Now, I don't know how much experience you have, but I would say this is probably going to happen until you start to put your foot down and literally tell them, get out. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're here for. Get out. And understand that if I give you permission to come back later, you may or may not have that opportunity to get back in here. But for right now, I need an absolute quiet environment, which I'm absolutely not getting with you people around, and I need you to go, or whatever you are. I think you'll find you also have, unfortunately, you have an animal energy right there as well. And so they're a little unruly about getting into anything they want to. That it's about 2 feet up. So this looks to be a little bit bigger dog, or maybe pack animal of some sort, wolf or something. They also had the coyote even. So I'm going to say coyote since they blurted that in my mouth and I was trying to go on from it. The ability to round grounds for anything so that they could dig and they could also jump up. So just know that if you're getting things amiss about that level, and I feel you do, I feel you either have a footstool or some type of ledge where you can sit things and it's really not that far up off the ground. And every once in a while that may be a source of irritation because you walk back in and find parts of the papers on the floor. And so that would be them, yes. Now, are they going to hurt you? I don't know. Depending on who you are, and I feel like once you put your foot down and you've made your mind up that crap has to end, it will. You won't even think twice about it. You bring down a blessing and you create an idea of who you are, what your intent would be, and what needs to stay out indefinitely. And for, like I said, for right now, just tell everything, knock the heck off. I'm pushing the pause button here. And when I unpush it, you may or may not be resumed. I'll let you know then. And that's everything you do. The TV, the coffee, anything that starts your day in a jolt and keeps you going, because that's kind of what you have to do exactly that. But get a different start with things. First thing you do when you wake up, drink water. Don't be running around on your feet for the first 5 or 10 minutes. Kind of go into it slowly. Don't push yourself. Don't push your body. Take care of yourself. And that's the only way you're going to be able to get through with whatever's coming at you here in the future, that you may or may not need the resources of whom else now is involved. Now, I don't know if Ernesto can give you anything out of that, because I'm most definitely now all over the
problem
place.
is it was kind of choppy and hard to understand, so I think I got, like the gist of it. So you see like a group of spirits, including animal spirits?
Yes.
And I have to, wow, okay. And, in the past I've tried, I don't do it every day, but I've said things like, get out of my space or whatever. Because, I moved in with my grandmother and took care of her, and that's how I have this apartment. But before my grandmother, the original tenant, killed herself by, strangulation with the phone cord in the closet.
Wow, it just gets
so
better
I
and
always thought, like, is that, is she haunting the place? And so I've been her to leave. No,
your aunt's not. Your aunt's not. But you got to remember, because there's a portal there. That thing has been there before you and in most anybody else that's alive today. So you got to remember that this time frame could be, you'd be jumping in and out of that portal at any point in that time frame. So it's not them that are consciously doing it. They're being pushed to do something, kill themselves.
Who's pushing them? Or what?
It's not a who. It's more of themselves once they get a load of what they've done. And they don't want to look at what they've done.
Can I jump in here for a second?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm looking at this. So, Karen, it's interesting you called the show to ask about ghosts, and I'm an astrologer, right? So I'm basically reading a language on a page here, and then you're asking me about something that has absolutely nothing to do with language, or so I think, right? But in our rule book, we have 8,000 different definitions, so you can ask questions about literally anything that your soul would like. And when we look at this, I typed in the word spirits, and that came up in a few places. And then get this, what we're looking at, the Aries Poseidon, those two planets together, Poseidon being a planet of light, light is a planet of spirit, education, and ideals. When we combine that with the Aries point, which is 0 degrees, a constant that every living soul has in their chart, the genesis or the birth of new things, putting that midpoint together, we come together at spirit, ideas, and ghosts. So this is going to be where we ask the question of your chart about ghosts. And when I asked that particular question, what I was really surprised to find out was the fact that you've got a lot of Neptune energy that's coming up in here. So what that tells me as the astrologer is what feeds the ghosts is the confusion. So like when your stuff goes missing and you kind of go into a tailspin mode because of that, it's almost like it's just sort of the confusion feeds into itself, and that's happening at such an unseen level that that they're just wanting to keep doing more of it. So that's going to be, so when you talk about, how do I make it go away? The first thing to do is when you get confused about something that has moved or has gone missing, walk the heck away, read a book, take a break for an hour, take a bath, go on a walk, do something to remove yourself from that environment, because that is exactly what the spirits would want in this case, is to confuse the heck out of you. So if we can eliminate that confusion factor, then you'll notice that things will just get so much better. And I do agree with Faretta that there's kind of some nastiness as far as the energy is concerned, because I asked a second question of your chart about, well, are the spirits good or are they bad? And that kind of falls into the question about ghosts themselves. So the ghosts in this situation are actually somewhat evil, I want to say. They're not friendly. Well, let's put it that way. And so I'm not saying that these are ghosts that necessarily should be dismissed or that they will be, because that's a separate inquiry entirely. But the energies here aren't friendly. So I'm just letting you know that. So that's another, nail in the coffin as to why you should walk the heck away and create some space here, because, all of that darkness is just sort of burgeoning and festering. And by you walking away, that's kind of what throws the light back into it. I don't know if that's what you were getting, Brett, but that's what the chart says.
Right. And so then you're going to take the next step. After you walk away, you're going to immediately include that you be blessed with a white, bright light, and bring down that protection from whatever source you feel okay saying. Bring down that protection immediately, not on them, but on you. And you then see that repellent as a light that shines from within, and whatever that repellent, whatever would be there, can't be hurt by your trace of light. So the first step would be to walk away. Well, actually, the first step would be to identify it and walk away, and then put a blessing down around yourself and envision that happening, as well as saying it to yourself. Envision that happening, making sure it's completely secure, it can't be breached whatsoever, and then you ask, again, whomever you would feel comfortable with calling on, you ask them to bathe their white light down upon whoever it was and give it to them. Just let it go. Don't even think about it anymore. Don't even be offended about it. Don't take time to go, woe is me. Don't even worry about it anymore. Just let it go.
Wow. Okay. Can I ask, are these spirits that I know or knew?
No. Well, one of them would have been in your generation, a little bit older, I think, but I don't think you knew them. I don't think they knew you. This isn't personal. As a matter of fact, they were there first. So if you want to get territorial.
Oh, they've been in through this apartment or in the portal? You mean?
In the portal, first? Yeah. You bet, it's like an elevator to them. They can stop at any floor they want off, and get off and mosey around a while.
So does every apartment here have a portal, or am I just a lucky one?
No. I want to say the way your apartment building is facing, or the shape of it. Let's see, what am I getting? It's more like a triangle. You're midway back and on the left, on the right. You're midway back and on the right. So that puts you, northwest facing. Yes, you are one of two, because your apartment's in the same direction. There's another one, kind of in like the same directional position to be is exactly like yours, but they don't. And it's but for them it's in a different place. For you, I feel like it's just right in the hallway where the beginning of the end of the living room kitchen thingy is. And then I think in theirs, that is like an echo of yours, and that puts it coming in and out of their bathroom in the hallway.
Karen,
Wow.
do you do anything with candles?
Yeah.
A little bit. I burn sage or Palo Santo more.
Oh, good. That's why it hasn't bothered you to the degree it could have.
I'm sorry?
That's why it hasn't bothered you to the degree that it could have.
Oh, good. Okay. So I need to do that more. And is there a way to close the portal permanently?
Yeah, but I'm not there. And I'm not quite sure
Oh.
who to tell you how to do it.
Okay.
Usually those types of things are
I
so
say-
huge that you need outside help.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having a portal for, spirits for my highest and best. People I wouldn't mind having around.
When you say it like that, it's doable. When you say it like that, it's very doable, because you're letting go of anything that someone may feel like you want to hang around because you think it's going to benefit you. No, if you're wanting it there for my highest good, then it also incorporates others' highest good, and I'll let you use that portal as long as they know it's just temporarily being used and they cannot possess it as their normal thoroughfare. And believe it or not, it happens. You actually do have a couple looky-loos hanger-oners that are specifically coming through your portal because it is as easy access as it is. So if that at any point gets really uncomfortable for you, then I don't know, maybe I would say see if you could find somebody that knows how to do sage work, cleaning work, and you're gonna want to know two questions from them. And you already do it, one of them, so that's great. You're gonna ask them, how do you sage? And they're probably gonna look at you like, oh, don't you know? And then you're gonna say, yeah, I know how to sage. I said, how do you sage? And they should tell you right off the bat, well, I do sage work to clear and clean absolutely everything and all the energies. And then I follow right behind it to set the tone in the void that was created from the sage of everything that you just burned out. And I'd like to set the tone now to whatever is positive for you. And I use three things. There may be more. There's no debate on the second one, but there should be a second one. I use either Palo Santo, sweetgrass, which is my absolute all-time favorite, and Nag Champa incense. And the only reason I use those three are because they resonate at a higher vibration, and I like them. And there's a couple other people use. I just don't resonate with the smell of that stuff. It gives me a headache. So find what works for you, and what you're going to do is you're going to sage, and as you're doing your saging, bring down a blessing inside the house or apartment. And just keep going and going with the same words over and over. If you get stuck on what to say and it's just not coming to you, just keep going. And finally, by the time you get all the way around the apartment back to where you started, then it's time to put out the sage and light your secondary goodie and get that going. And pretty much do the same thing, but you don't have to go into detail for blessing. You did that as you cleared your wherever area with the sage, So all you really need to do is just kind of be happy and perky and skippy and light. And if you think of something in there you didn't get in there when you were saging for a blessing, do that too. Because you really want to set your space, your known tone, as high as you possibly can. So, a lot of times what that does is then it presents lower energy from coming at you because you set the tone so high, they can't really affect or influence you permanently.
Right. Well, I do a lot of work to raise my vibration, but I have to admit there are a lot of days where I'm just so down in the dumps. I have trouble.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So yeah, maybe that's there.
And Karen, I just want to let you know, because of that statement alone is pretty powerful. That some days you just feel so down in the dumps you just can't handle it. And I just want to let you know that is not you. That is you. You are not crazy. That is because of this energetic garbage that we're sort of working through right now. That spiritual energy definitely has the potential to drag you down in the dumps, and it's just going to knock you out to where, like, I need to sit here and feel sorry for myself, and I hate this, and I don't know why I have to do this, but I do. So this is just you, and those spirits are going to give you a lot of those types of feelings. So again, this is one of those things where, like, I'm not giving in to you. You're not going to win here. So pull yourself out of bed, even if it's just to sit in a chair and fall asleep again. At least you're disengaging from whatever, screwery that they're trying to get away with.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah, it was great to have you on the show, Karen. Such a beautiful conversation, so different from astrology. I'm glad that we could bring this all together for you today.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, and we will catch up with you real soon. Until next time, many blessings. Be sure to give us a call back and let us know how it turned out.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Many blessings to you both.
All right, for sure.
Thank you.
Take care and good night.
Namaste. Good night.
Okay, and we are going to go ahead and close the show out here. I just want to wrap up from that last call with Karen here. Thanks so much for calling again and asking us that question about spirits, because, Loretta, were you kind of surprised that Uranian astrology can tell us about that, which is something that is totally unseen?
Right. I'm learning now not to have any expectations with it, because it is so, to me, so, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe the feeling of knowing that this is so right to point. And everybody, that does hear Western astrology is fine. I'm not telling you not to. I'm not really not. I'm just saying that this is something that's worth anybody, if they're new to any kind of metaphysics, they should be giving this a principal look, because this thing's really a powerhouse. And there's only usually, the thing about that for me, though, is most likely what will end up being involved in it down the road is somebody will take it and corrupt it and form a business of it, and then you can't get it for free anymore because somebody figured out a way to make that happen. It'll be long after you. But the fact is that's the kind of thing that what we're enjoying right now is going to end up bringing. Nothing's going to be free anymore. We're going to have to work like a dog to do any of it if we want to. And unfortunately, we'll want to, because that's who we are. We bore easy, so we need variety, and we need less flexibility, as our granddaughter would say. We need next flexibility, because if our hands were a little more tight, binded, and our feet didn't fit so well, and we started to try to take a walk one day when it wasn't really a good idea to begin with, we'd really be hating it by the time we got home. So what you want to do is you want to look at the good fitting shoes as Uranian, and the pretty little the less small the price tag, and the one that really should have been the one you kept walking in were the ones that were not as pretty, ugly enough not to survive past your cut. So, the thing is I feel like there's a lot of things that we're going to learn here with Uranian astrology, and we're going to learn how to know, we're going to learn how to do it for ourselves. and it'll become a franchise. It'll become something that, if you want to hang in there, and you will apparently, if you want to just hang in there with a little bit, with your teeth clasped on and don't let go, you will recognize this come into fruition in a manner that you can't imagine, Ernesto. The security it will bring, the safety you'll get, a lot of the things, that your mom and dad struggle hard for. So I think a lot of, not perks, that's like too artificial, but roses, a lot of roses are coming for you, and then some, more than you can possibly imagine. And it's because you're taking the time to differentiate.
And one of the things that's so exciting is, like, I'm probably about 2/3 of the way done with my methods textbook, and I'm kind of wondering, should I write more? And then I'm like, no, I don't need to. Not in this copy, because this copy is about how to do the work. That's what I'm really focused on. And then you're going to have all of these supplemental books that all kind of teach you different things. So, like, psycho-spiritual exploration. That's something that we can get into for sure. We could also get into something like using the chart to test or to study for, like, medical issues. Medical intuition, we've talked about that on the show. These are pillars, these are things that we can start to show people and actually describe it in a way, using a method that's replicable by any layperson off of the street. That is so unique in what we do in Uranian astrology, is the fact that anybody can do this. You just have to put in the work to do it. And that we can just stretch into and branch into all of these new and exciting directions that allow us to explore ourselves in the universe in ways that we never thought possible. I mean, that is pretty awesome, that I can use something that's based off of science and math to read spirits. Like, how the heck do you get that? Well, it's because that's what we do. That's why this is Celestial Intersections Radio. And on that note, I do want to close out the show. I think that's perfect to end it on. So I do want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We will be back with you guys again on Sunday for a 1-hour program at 10 a.m. Excuse me, no, I'm sorry, that's 11 a.m. when we will be back with you on Sunday. For all other things Uranian astrology, be sure to check out eastrologer.tv, and you can find Veretta at verettavision.com. Thanks so much, Veretta, as always, for joining us. And to all of our guests, we will be back with you guys on Sunday. Until next time, good luck and Godspeed.
Good night. Many blessings. Bye-bye.